Good morning, my friends. I hope you're doing well today. In fact, I know you can be doing well today because of the truth of God about who you are. The last few days, we've been looking at 1 Peter chapter 3, and Peter told us some very basic things about our identity that are actually very transformative when we understand what they mean and we really begin to believe them. You see, in chapter 1, verse 3 of 1 Peter, we're told that God has caused us to be born again. So we have a new identity, a new beginning as a spiritual being, and we're born into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. You see, Jesus' resurrection did more than bring him back to life. It brought us back to spiritual life, back into a relationship with our Father, into a place where we can now live according to His will with the power of His Son living in us. And in verse 4, Peter goes on and he tells us more about what has been done for us through Jesus' resurrection. It says we are born again into an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for us. So we can pause there for a moment and think about that. We all know what an inheritance is. I received an inheritance just a little while back from a dear cousin who passed away, and she was an only child. Her parents had both passed away, and what money she had, she gave in an inheritance to me and my 4 siblings. You see, an inheritance is something you get from someone else who has earned it or who has amassed it, who has saved it. And in this case, the inheritance comes from God the Father, and He gives it to us through Jesus Christ. So when Jesus rose from the dead, you see, it's kind of different from our inheritance. Because of Jesus' new life after death, we are given an inheritance. So it's not that we're receiving it because He's dead now. We're receiving it because He's alive now. And that's why it's an inheritance that is imperishable, can never perish, is undefiled, because Jesus defeated every bit of our sin, and it's unfading. It will never fade away. It's kept in heaven for us. So when we look ahead to our future, we see nothing but bright future. We see God's glorious future ahead for us. We are going to receive an inheritance when we finally exit this life and move on to the life to come. And that inheritance will never perish. It will never be spoiled. It will never fade. And it is being kept for us right now. But Peter's great news goes on. He says, he's talking to us. We are who by God's power are being guarded through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. You see, we say when we were born again, we say we got saved. Saved from what? Well, saved from our sinful bent and the consequences of our sin. Saved from the wrathful judgment of God against our sin. You know, those are very practical things we can see that we were saved from. But he's saying here, there's a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. So that means there is still more to our salvation that's to come. And so back to my point in the very first episode of this series, these last 5 episodes, if we really believe these things, if we really bank on God's giving to us an inheritance that will never be defiled and is unfading and is being kept for us, and that we are actually guarded through our faith to receive this salvation that is coming in the last time, our lives would change. We would stop being fearful, anxious, doubting people, and we'd be living with more confidence than anybody on the planet. So spend some time today pondering these things and preparing yourself to live a day as a confident son or daughter of the King of Kings. Let's talk again tomorrow.